Good evening, Mrs. Oum. Good evening, friends. We are from Group 9, consists of Berlina Dewi Sihombing, Siti Sofia, and of course myself, Hertin Indira Utoyo. The topic we would like to present is about second language acquisition. What is second language acquisition, or SLA? SLA refers to the study of how students learn a second language, additionally to their first language. The process of learning any language after the first language, whether it is the second, third, or fourth language. Therefore, any other language apart from the first language is called a second language, or target language, or foreign language. To distinguish between second language and foreign language, the Collins Dictionary defines second language as the language that a person learns after his or her native language, and foreign language as a language that is used in a country other than one's native country. There are different ways to acquire second or foreign languages. It can be in a formal way, as in a classroom environment, or informal way, such as when the learner picks up the language by being culturally active participant of the society. This can be done by attending school in the target country, watching local television, listening to the radio, reading newspapers in L2. By being actively involved in the learning environment, the learning is constantly in contact with the target language through normal daily routines. It is extremely important in SLA to look at the learning environment and investigate if the age factor has any effect. What are the goals of SLA based on Gardner and Lambert, also Schirbergi? According to Gardner and Lambert, an instrumental motivation can be thought of as a motivation for those who want to learn a second or foreign language for educational purpose or seeking work opportunities. According to Schirbergi, learners who want to culturally interact with other community members and are willing to participate as valuable members of the target language country. In other words, the main goal of the language learner is to use the language for social interaction. Next presentation will be by Berlina. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma'am Hertin. Alright, I'm going to explain more about our presentation. It is important to discuss the theories behind SLA and try to find out how we learn a language and what elements need to be present for a successful language acquisition. The first one, the acquisition learning hypothesis, is subconscious and intuitive process of constructing the system of language. The next one, the monitor hypothesis, is the learning process with the purpose to monitor the learning progress and propose improvements. The next, the natural order hypothesis, claims that we acquire the rules of a language in a predictable order. Then, the input hypothesis bolsters the importance for the learner to understand the language beyond his or her understanding with an influence such as motivation. And the last one is the effective filter hypothesis is acquired easily if certain emotion factors are met. It means positive attitude seems to be important in SLA. The second theory discussed by Alton Neshinger revolves focusing on communicative proficiency in language teaching. In fact, one of the most important aspects of communicative language teaching is a language competence, or in other words, the knowledge and ability to use the target language. It is essential to incorporate activities that influence the learner to communicate in the target language. Through these activities, students need to be able to use the language in a meaningful way and need to be motivated and aware of the importance of learning the language in order to benefit significantly from learning process. The third SLA theory claims one of the main features of SLA is to build up a system of knowledge that can be unconsciously automatically recollected. There are 5 stages of SLA. The first one, pre-production, which is referred as the silent period. The next one is early production. In this stage, learners will have around 1000 words vocabularies. And the third one, speech emergence. The learners have acquired around 3000 words and should be able to speak short sentences and simple phrases. The next one is development stage or intermediate fluency. The learners have an active vocabs of 6000 words. And the last one is the last developing stage. It takes around 5 until 10 years to achieve proficiency, and by now the learners are considered near native. The next one will be continued by my friend Siti Sophia. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Lina. Now I would like to continue the next slide. It's about age of second language acquisition. The second language acquisition competence among adults seem to differ significantly from the way children acquire their first language. It is important to investigate if second language learning capacity declines over a period. There are rather few studies that truly investigate SLA achievement between old and young language learners. Few studies that deal with success and age-related issues between young and old learners show that the younger learners perform better than adult second language learners. On the other hand, there is evidence that favors the hypothesis that the older the better in terms of SLA. Interestingly, this shows that even though second language acquisition begins at the age of 12 and in classroom instruction setting, those learners could nevertheless attain a native-like sense. As previously stated, there are evidence that favor the younger the better, and also studies indicating that older students can exceed younger learners. In addition, there is another hypothesis that indicates the younger learners are extremely efficient in acquiring native-like accents in second language. Crescent et al. 1979 explore this subject further and show the short-term and long-term results in second language acquisition. They claim that 1. All that process through early stage of syntactic and morphological development faster than children, where time and exposure are held constant. 2. Older children occur faster than younger children. Again, in early stage of syntactic and morphological development, where time and exposure are held constant. 3. Occurs who begin natural exposure to second language during childhood generally achieve higher second language proficiency than those beginning as adult. Now, does age really matter in SLA? The question, when is the best age for SLA, seems to be connected with the amount input or exposure to the target language. Scholars are still struggling to understand sufficiently what effect age has on the language learner. However, more recent investigations regarding the earlier the better are still debatable, and the focal point has led scholars to investigate further the language exposure and motivational factors. Moreover, the reality is that age can play a role in improving SLA, but it is important to provide students with enough exposure to the target language during their learning process. Next slide. It's about motivation, natural, and educational. Motivation is extremely important to understand the role of motivation in SLA because investigation. Motivation plays a significant role in achieving SLA proficiency and competence. In natural and instructed settings, it is extremely important to be aware of the natural and instructional settings in order to investigate the effect of the method in relation to age factor. It is essential to understand the two settings to be able to implement the method in the learning period and for the learner to be able to success. The last one is educational and cultural context. In order to investigate the roots of motivation in SLA, it is essential to discuss both the educational context, uh, example classroom learning, and the cultural context or outside the classroom. The educational context is the environment that the learner is familiar with. There are factors in the educational context that can contribute to greatly influence the learning during SLA. The expectation of the school system, quality of the language program, classroom environment, material used in the class, and the curriculum are among few factors. Learning situation level divided into three more levels. 1. Course specific motivational components, which involves learners' interest, expectancy, and satisfaction. 2. Teacher specific motivational component involving the student's desire to please the teacher. To authority type like controlling versus autonomy as boarding, and direct socialization of motivation or including modeling, task presentation, and feedback. And the last one is group specific motivational component. The last slide is conclusion. The conclusion from our paper that language acquisition is the process by which humans acquire the capacity to perceive, produce, and use words to understand and communicate. First, language acquisition is the ability of humans to acquire their mother tongue from their early age. There are four theories to describe the process of children in understanding and practicing their first language, like behaviorist or imitation, cognitive, and interactions. The significance of first language acquisition for children are to express needs and get what they want. used to tell others what to do, and tell stories and to create an imaginary situation. In conclusion, the younger the better, as mentioned above, is not always true because several evidence that if sufficient exposure is not available for young learners, they can lose their advantage and it may prevent them from benefit from the learning. As a final point, the age may play an important role in SLA and earlier may be better, but for that to happen, there has to be motivation and sufficient exposure to target language for the learner to benefit from. In other words, for successful SLA, exposure and the rule of motivation seems to be more significant than the age factor. This is the last slide that we shared this evening. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.